Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another pre-recorded video talking about 6 teams that have exceeded my expectations. We'll look at all 6 of these teams, how they're doing so far in this year's current season, and look at their likelihood of potentially making the playoffs, which all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the NHL Hockey channel. Now before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you all your support when you're able to do this for you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss today's video. So in today's video, we've got an interesting one here talking about 6 teams that have exceeded my preseason expectations for themselves. Now at this point in time, there are a couple of teams who have been surprises and pleasant surprises, such as the Ottawa Senators, or the Utah Hockey Club, or the Pittsburgh Penguins, or the Boston Bruins. All 4 of those teams didn't have the greatest starts. They're all competing for playoff spots right now. But if you look at my preseason standings and look at where I had them, I had Utah making a run at a playoff spot. I had Ottawa making a run at a playoff spot. I had Boston being in a playoff spot. I had Pittsburgh just missing out on a playoff spot. Like, they're all on the same trajectory I had in the preseason. But there are 6 teams that have really exceeded my expectations at this point in time. So we'll look at all 6 of those teams and see how they've done so far this year and if they can sustain this to make it to the playoffs in the 2025 season. So we'll start in the Atlantic Division. There's one team I want to look at here today, and it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning, I was expecting to take a major step back. I thought Boston would still do good, Toronto, Florida. I thought Ottawa would take a step forward, Buffalo would take a step forward. I said Detroit, Montreal would probably still be on the lower end of things, but I thought Tampa would take a major step back and be the lowest team in the Atlantic Division. That has so far not been the case. Maybe will eventually, but Tampa, as of recording this video, is 8 games above 500 at 18-10-2 after the first 30 games. So they are looking phenomenal. They're only 4 points back of both Toronto and Florida for a top 3 spot in the Atlantic Division. So they did not take the step back I was expecting at all. Vasilevsky, while he's not been perfect, has looked phenomenal for the Bolts. That defense, even without Sergachev, has been looking great. A guy like JJ Moser's been fantastically on that blue line. So they've looked really good on the defensive end, and offensively, led by Kucherov, Point, Gensel, Hagel, Hall, and Cirelli. That offense is looking phenomenal. I thought that offense, after the loss of Stamkos, would have taken at least a little bit of a step back, but they look like they have not missed a beat. So Tampa, at this point in time, is looking phenomenal. Now, there's a very lucky chance for them to make a playoff spot. I think there's a very lucky chance they do make the playoffs. The Bolts are in a weaker Atlantic Division, where they are at 38 points and currently 3rd in the Atlantic, tied with Boston but have games in hand, 2 points up on Ottawa but have games in hand, and the other 3 teams are sort of irrelevant at this point in time. So for this current point in time, I think Tampa's ready to make the playoffs again. As much as I really hate this, given the fact Ottawa and Buffalo are 2 of my favorite teams in the same division, I think Tampa is still going to make the playoffs, even despite my preseason predictions of them being out. So interesting stuff there for Tampa. The other Eastern Conference team I want to talk about here today is the Philadelphia Flyers. Just like last year, I expected them to be a bomb-dwelling team, bomb 2, 3, 4 in the NHL, sort of be one of the lower-end teams. So far this year, they've exceeded my expectations. They're hovering right around 500 at 14, 15, and 4. I thought there would be a team who would be predicting to be making like 60, maybe 65, 70 points, but they're on pace to be around the 500 mark again, maybe even try and contend for a playoff spot as a possibility. So the Flyers have looked really good. Goaltending wise, they've had Ersson, they've had Kolosov, they've had Fedotov. Like, all the goaltenders look pretty good. Defensively, not the soundest of teams, but still guys like York, Sanheim, Andrea, like, they're all looking pretty good on the defensive end. And forward group wise, Michkov is leading that offensive group as a rookie. He's looking phenomenal, and then Konechny's still looking pretty good. Farabee, Frost, Tippett, like, they have got some really good offensive weapons that are still producing. Now, they're still near 500, so at this current point in time, with the way some of the teams ahead of them are playing, I don't think Philadelphia will make the playoffs. I think at this point, they're still just making themselves a worth draft pick. Maybe they will sneak in, we'll have to wait and see, but Philadelphia is at this point exceeding my expectations. I thought they would be one of the bomb dwellers in the NHL, and at this point in time, they're contending for a playoff spot, so Philly's definitely surpassed my expectations, but at this point in time, I don't think they'll be enough to make the playoffs. Going over to the Central Division, 2 teams who I want to look at here is the Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets. Now, if you go back to my preseason predictions for what the standings would look like, I had the Wild missing out by just a hair to a playoff spot. I think I had them missing by 1 or 2 points to Utah for that final playoff spot. And my preseason predictions, I had the Jets missing out by like 5 or 6. Neither team I had doing overly bad. I had them both having above 500 record, but I had both of them missing out on the playoff spot. Both of them have exceeded my wildest expectations. The Jets are 23-10-1 with 47 points in 34 games. The Wild are 28-4 with 44 points in 32 games. Both teams have had phenomenal starts to the season. Now, both these teams I would love to see make it to the playoffs and wind up going on runs. They've never won a Stanley Cup, either of these ones. So to see one of those two end up making it to the Cup final this year would be phenomenal. Now for the Wild, they've been led by Kaprizov offensively. He's had a monster season. Guys like Rossi, Boldy, Zuccarello, Johansson, Eriksson Ek, they've contributed offensively, but it's been led by Kaprizov. Defensively, they've been a sound team. Faber, Spurgeon, Brodin, all those defensemen, they're looking really good. And in net, Gustafsson and Fleury have been phenomenal. On the Jet side of things, Hellebuck and Comrie have been really good, but Hellebuck in particular is having another great season for the Winnipeg Jets. Defensively, DeMello, Morrissey, Pionk, the defense has still looked sound, not missed a beat from last year's regular season. And offensively, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, Ehlers, Perfetti, like the offense is clicking in all cylinders. So with where they are at this point in time, Jets 9 points up on Dallas, who's third in the Metro Division, and the Wild 6 points up on Dallas, third in the Metro Division. I think there's a very likely chance that both the Jets and the Wild will make the playoffs this year. Wild are training to the playoffs, Jets making it back after they made it last year. So as much as I thought those two teams would be bubble playoff teams, maybe could see making it, but most likely wind up being out. Those two teams look like they're going to be the top two teams in the Central right now. So Jets and Wild have surpassed my expectations, and I expect both of them to make the playoffs. And lastly, when it comes to the Pacific Division, we also have two teams to look at here today, and that's the Los Angeles Kings and the Calgary Flames. Now the Kings, I was expecting just the Wild to be on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. I was expecting them to be just ever so slightly maybe missing the playoffs. Maybe they wind up sneaking in. I was expecting them, the Wild and the Utah, to be basically in the fight for the last wildcard spot. Well, just like the Wild, the Kings are one of the best teams in the Western Conference. They currently sit second in the Pacific Division at 42 points with a 19-9-4 record, only behind the Vegas Golden Knights. The Kings have had a phenomenal start to the season. In net, Kemper, Riddick have both been phenomenal in net, and when called upon, Copley and Portillo have also been really good. Defensively, even without Drew Doughty, which I thought would have been a major step back for that team, Anderson, Gavrikov, Edmondson, Clark, like they're all looking phenomenal defensively. And up front, the offense is just loaded right now. Turcotte, Kempe, Byfield, Kopitar, Fiala, like the list goes on and on. They have a really good forward group. So the offense is clicking really well. The defense is clicking really well. Goaltending wise, they're putting up some solid numbers, and the Kings are putting up really good record above Edmonton and Vancouver right now. So they've exceeded my wildest expectations. Now at this point in time, I think there's a very likely chance the Kings do make the playoffs. They're in a really good position. They're ahead of Edmonton and Vancouver right now. Will they keep it in a top two spot? Maybe not, but I do think there's a really strong chance for them to make the playoffs this year. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. And lastly, when it comes to the Calgary Flames, they've also exceeded my expectations. Now at the beginning of the season, I thought there would be a bottom three team, someone who's in the basement of the NHL. I didn't expect them to do very much this year, but they've had a phenomenal start and really good first half of the season. At this point in time, Calgary is 15-11-7 for 37 points. They're just out of a playoff spot, both point percentage wise and points wise, but they are looking really good at this point in time. They're in a really good position when it comes to potentially making the playoffs this year. They're looking like they're going to be in a race with guys like Colorado, Utah, St. Louis, and Seattle for that last playoff spot. And I think at this point in time, with the teams that they still have to compete with for that second wildcard spot in the West, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Just like Calgary, I think they'll probably miss it and sort of give them a worse draft position at this point in time. But the Calgary said had a phenomenal start to the year offensively. Huberdeau's looking a little bit better. Sharangovich is looking good. Kadri's looking good. Zeri's looking good. Cornell forward group's looking good. Defensively, guys like Anderson, Weegar, Ball, Pakel all looking really good in nets. Wolf has had phenomenal stats, and Velarde is also looking pretty good in nets. So Calgary's looking like a decent team. I could see them maybe make some sort of run to playoffs. I think they'll probably will miss, but they've had exceeded my expectations in the preseason. So definitely, that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'll have your guys' thoughts on these 6 teams down in the comment section below. Were you surprised about how good the Kings, the Wild, the Jets, the Flyers, the Flames, and the Bolts have started off this year? And if so, do you think any of these teams will wind up missing the playoffs, or do you think all 6 will wind up making it? Definitely let your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. Enjoy this video. If you're listening, subscribe down below. Thank all your support and with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so someone else can see tonight's video. Also a blog, comment, news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. I'll link down in the description below. And catch you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.